right, welcome. Nick Labinsky, CEO of Near Research Labs. Welcome to the Premier Living podcast. We're so glad that you're with us here today. We wanted to dive into detoxification. I think it's something that is on the top of mind that consumers, younger generations, it's really driving the industry as a whole. We're focusing on it this month in May. So if you're listening to this at a later date, this was a focus in 2025 and it will be again next year. But it really should be a focus for any health professional and any consumer really to take charge of their health. But maybe to start off our conversation today, how, in your eyes, detoxification evolving? And how can a consumer or health professional really stay informed in detoxification trends so that they can better support their clients to idea of health?
It's great to see you. Well, I think it's important to understand that, detox has always been, I think, critical to any kind of protocol that a practitioner has to eliminate the body of toxins that are naturally occurring in the environment. Toxins have been here forever. Foods, molds produce these naturally. They're defense mechanisms. Problem is, as humans, as a society, we have developed things that have that were thought as it is a convenience item, such as plastics. And these are endocrine disruptors because of different compounds within there. And then there's the forever chemicals. And we're at the point now in the world that it's a world problem where they're finding microplastics at the top of Mount Everest within a mother's womb. It's everywhere. The bottom of the Marina Trench, it's everywhere. There's no getting away from it anymore. So you must work to eliminate that now or block it to the body. So it's become very apparent, and people are starting to see the effects of this in conjunction with ultra processed foods. It's another lever that can be very detrimental to your health. So I think it's just on the minds of most people as science is evolving to understand it. How the temporal and causal relationships between these toxins that are man-made in the environment. And now we need to look back to nature of these solutions that were originally there for more of the natural causes, but also help you with these man-made toxins that are out there. So I think it's really evolving to understanding more. It's becoming more mainstream in terms of the consumer market, not just the practitioner. Consumers are becoming very aware because their healths are affected. They're like, why am I tired? Why am I having infertility issues? And they're realizing, my detergent that I wash with has sheds millions of particles every day that I'm inhaling. And we just didn't know. We didn't know. Maybe ignorance is bliss, I guess, till you get sick. And we need to really go back to our roots, go back to nature, because the solutions are there. We're always trying to mimic nature in everything we do, from the military. It does it best, right? The creator knew what he was doing. We need to mimic that or use that to our advantage, use the tools and use science to amplify it. And but you also have to be careful that materials that you use are not full of toxins themselves as well. I think it's very interesting that, or not interesting, I guess, ironic, that cayenne, of all things, I've mentioned this in other podcasts, that we saw a huge issue with cayenne with aflatoxin, but cayenne is what people use for detox. It dilates the blood vessels. It's a known item to use, but it has a lot of times toxin in it. And you don't want to help one way and then hurt yourself another. So you just got to be careful and know the risks that you have to take, and also you got to be with detox. You can have other adverse effects, so you got to be very careful about what you do. And have a practitioner help you, because you can actually have a really bad detox that could be a medical concern for you, and could be very, uncomfortable. Let's say that.
Yeah, I think there's the reality of detoxification. Sometimes it's oversimplified. It's actually for a consumer, and maybe they've seen an influencer, right? They just talk about detoxifying the body. They don't really understand the sequential nature that's needed to really unlock the full potential of that detox and to not cause any harm, right? And you brought up a really good point on if somebody is looking to detoxify the body, because there's millions of reasons why, truthfully, right? And I really believe that we're starting to wake up on what is a healthy form of detoxification, and really what are we trying to detoxify from? And we can get into so many different subjects on today's episode, but you brought up a point around, ensuring that the botanicals and supplements that you use aren't actually causing harm as part of your detoxification process. We here in our research lab specialize in formulations of premier quality. Help the listeners to this episode really understand the importance of that, because we talk about premier quality all the time, and obviously there's the active ingredients to the formulation, right? But what about all the other stuff that's in the product that could cause?
Yeah, so there's in the formulation in this industry, if you go, I encourage everyone, if you're not using our products, if somebody else's products, go look at the bottle. Turn it to what's the supplement effects, and just go down to what it says other ingredients. And if you look at our bottles here, this is one of them. Our other ingredients has literally plant source capsules. What you typically will see for many brands, I'm not saying 100%, but many of the brands are magnesium stearate, ascorbyl palmitate, different ingredients that are used for processing aids, or they're called excipients. And they're used to basically modify the production process to make it run better. It's a profit-gating ingredient, is not for nutrition. Now, you'll look at ours sometimes, and I don't know if any of them here, some of ours have stuff like rice bread, or they'll have MCT oil. They may have rice concentrate, different things that have nutritional value, because the philosophy Dr. Marshall began, which he was ahead of his time and was doing this 30 plus years ago. He was like, I don't want to put something in the body that A, doesn't have nutritional value, and B, would actually, just like I was talking about, it's kind of like a low toxin. It can hurt you, or it can absorb toxin. Magnesium stearate has been shown to be able to hold formaldehyde as part of that, carbon decomposition process that all natural things go through, but it holds on to it. So why would you want to have that as part of that? It doesn't do anything for you, right? There's no benefit other than making more profit for the company. We have developed our own excipients, but natural. So like I said, rice bran and other things that add value. They have other nutrients in there. It's going to be a supportive. Is it as good as these other ingredients? Absolutely not. In terms of the efficiency and production, you're just not going to get it. But we accept that. That's okay. And Dr. Marshall was okay. We have come a long way over the years. We had a lot of loss when we first started. When I first started, 20% losses in the production. It's a lot of money. But he was okay with that. And I talked to him about it. He was like, do you want to eat it? I was like, absolutely not. And so, we have come a long way, and we've gotten way more efficient with it, with technology and just through using different ingredients. So I think it's important to always know what you're putting in there and the risks, and is it, there's a reason you get what you pay for it. Always remember that too. So if you go out there and you're seeing this product and there's like a huge difference price, why? Do you know the reasons? It's this other company doing a lot of testing. Is it real? There's a lot of counterfeit stuff out there too. Be very careful on Amazon and all those other platforms. Know who you're buying from. This is a 70 billion, almost maybe now, industry, dietary supplements. And whenever there's that much money, there's fraud. Period.
True. Yeah. It's important to note that, everybody listening in, that those excipients, there's you start to talk about formaldehyde and magnesium stearate, but there's aspects of how those flow aids and processing aids actually can disrupt the natural processes in the body, and potentially could disrupt the biome, the microbiome. And so, when you're looking at that disruption and you're looking at detoxification, I think it's crucial to note all the aspects, and for people just to kind of understand the landscape of detoxification, kind of some primary routes, right? And like where certain substances or where they may want to support certain areas of the body through the detoxification process. And have a couple on top of mind that you like to list or go through?
In terms of products, help me understand what you're...
Just like areas of the body. So, there's the microbiome that actually can digest.
Okay, understood. So, to make So areas that we want to continuously detox is where are you consistently inundating toxins on a daily basis, no matter what. Now you get it there in the environment, right? So you're inhaling stuff. So you can say maybe the lungs we have to always look at as well, but it's systemic. I got to say that, but the food, you're eating, you're going to eat no matter what, you have to eat, period. Your choice of what you're eating and cleanliness, which you may or may not know. You may think something that's organic. Oh, this is it's the most expensive blueberries that you could possibly buy, right? And it's organic. I can tell you right now, tasted organic stuff and the highest pesticides I've ever seen. Still to this day. To the most part, your chances are going to be high, right? That it's not that contaminated, but just know that it can happen. But you get the blueberries, you're eating it, and it does have pesticides again there. It's getting into your body. How do you prevent that fruit, being absorbed? And I think it's always important to have as a foundational item for me, our Medi-Clay, which I believe is here. This is an amazing product. And I've done experimentation on this. It's been clinically studied in San Antonio. Because they eat a lot of legumes and beans and corn. So they tested it by putting this into the diet of the population over there and said, hey, is there a lower incidence of liver cancer? Because aflatoxin, which normally is found in those items, will increase the prevalence of it. What they found was absolutely, it lowers because this binds specifically to aflatoxin. Personally in the lab, I also looked at endotoxin, which is a material that comes from gram-negative bacteria. Gram-negative bacteria is everywhere. It is literally on everything. You probably swipe everything here, and I'll have some kind of gram-negative bacteria. The gram-negative bacteria has a layer on it that it has a lipopolysaccharide, which is actually toxic. It causes inflammation. And you're eating this with every meal, lipopolysaccharides, just period. It's higher in concentration on meats. And when you cook meat, you actually break that cell wall and release it. Well, Patrick will call it meat sweat sometimes. So, and there's you can use this to bind to that. And it showed in the lab, it will reduce it by like 80%. I did a whole fermentation, added this material to that fermentation, tested before and after, 80% reduction. Incidental, didn't do a whole big study on it, but it's a binder. It basically binds to it. And the great thing is you don't actually absorb this, right? It stays within your digestive tract and kind of sweeping up the toxins. Now, it also does pesticides, some antibiotics. It's amazing work. And there's a lot of different bentonite clays out there, they're called. Montrimolinite is a type of the phase of the actual mineral. This is a calcium ion inside of kind of like a sandwich. Think of two layers. And this calcium ion, when you hydrate it, so this comes in capsules. Why do we go through capsules? Actually, accuracy, because it's a 500 milligram capsule, and it's very hard to measure with a spoon, 500 milligrams. You need about 3 grams for daily dosage. So you do like maybe a gram per meal. And you open the ideal way. You can take a capsule. If you don't want to put this in water, you just can't think of taking clay and drinking it. You can take it in the capsule. But the ideal way is to open it up in water, let it hydrate, and what that does is that calcium ion becomes activated. Think of it that way. And then as soon as you take that and mix it in the water and drink it, it will coat the food. There's more surface area, and it'll literally bind to that toxin so you don't absorb it. You want to do it on the front end, right? And then you will literally extrude out. So I highly suggest taking this with everything you eat. Just have it with you. We're going to look at pill packs in the future, so it can make it easy transport. This is there's no reason not to take this. You're just constantly inundated. You don't even know it. And you don't know it until you feel bad or something else happens. You have another manifestation that's caused by that. But this is an amazing item. It's also been studied in Kenya and Africa. Same study because they do a lot of grains over there. Also show liver cancer prevalence went down as well. Absolutely amazing product. Highly suggest this. very popular with our medical doctors because of how strong the science is. This is daily. Don't eat food without it, basically.
Sure, especially given where agricultural is and just how our food supply is so contaminated. That's just so important to know. And I've heard, there's the aspect of applying it as like a food wash, and even, open up the capsule and washing your fruits and vegetables prior to even cooking them.
Yeah, I do with my strawberries.
Yeah.
So, you would meet people, because it binds to pesticides, it binds to all these things. It's an amazing item. And the interesting thing is that actually there's some science showing that it actually can help probiotics and protect them to get through the stomach acid into the digestive tract. So combining it at the same time you're taking a probiotic can also be beneficial. So it's an amazing ingredient. Comes from basically a freshwater wash volcanic material because most of the bentonite clays are sodium based, not necessarily calcium based. And the calcium is really kind of where the magic happens with this product.
It's true. And we've had so many stories and just anecdotes of success around absolutely supporting detox. And, you can take it with food and then also potentially taking it between meals to kind of support that, there's the aspect of how your gallbladder and your hepatobiliary system's eliminating waste products every 4 to 6 hours throughout the day. And so ensuring that a binder is present right, in the body to support detoxification is going to be critical. There's a lot of questions, we don't actually have an activated charcoal. And so when people are thinking about detoxification and they're like, I need a binder, a lot of people are thinking about charcoal. You want to share why we haven't done a charcoal?
Personally, the charcoal, we haven't found charcoal is a little bit of a kitchen sink. That's one thing. This clay right here, give you an example, is very specific, right? If I give you a binder that binds to everything, it's going to bind everything good too. And you got to be very careful with that, especially if you're on medication or, something else. Or if you take it with other supplements, right? And then all of a sudden those are just waste because you're just binding everything. Heavy metals, other contaminants in there. If you're poisoned by, alcohol poisoning or something of that nature, and they literally shove activated charcoal down into your stomach. Okay, totally get. You're in the ER. You're critical. Got to do it. Daily use, not so much. I would be more targeted to avoid just sucking everything up. Avoid the other contamination. And my personal protocol is taking this Medi-Clay with Chlorella. Chlorella is an amazing binder as well, which we have here on this one. This is a very special species Chlorella. Most of this stuff is vulgaris. This is Sorokiniana. This is something you're not going to really see too much on the market. Organic, broken cell. So I'll also know that if you don't see broken cell, don't get the Chlorella because it's not going to do anything. They have a very tough outer shell. Let's call it that, cell wall. And if it's not broken, basically that the chlorophyll, the vitamins, minerals, everything that binds is not released. So it literally just goes through you. It's a waste. So do not do that. Find broken cell. Ours is broken cell. It's organic. And this literally will help with the binding efforts of the Medi-Clay. It also helps with detoxing. This you will absorb though. And it will help you detoxify heavy metals. And there's been some work done on metabolic health and looking at actually lipid health specifically, where it can actually lower cholesterol, triglycerides using this. Very interesting if you eat it right before a high fatty meal. Be careful with that too, because, good fats, bad fats, you gotta, there's that argument. And then there's one more. I always highly say, I take it daily. It is beets. Beets are great, especially if you're going through a detox. It's good to take all the time. Pre-workout, great for nitric oxide. We have a fermented beet that's actually been, when we ferment it, basically the sugar goes down and increases the nitrate. So it's a very potent formula. Also increases the protein in there, the natural betaine, which is basically a methylating agent. Absolutely awesome, organic, and it's grown in the USA, completely 100% US grown and US made. That beets, whenever you take it, and let's say you have bile, which we just talked about. The bile is they take the cholesterol in your body and also the toxins, fat-soluble toxins, and will excrete it out. Now, that bile is usually there to take your fats and then reabsorb it back in. A great way to reduce, triglycerides or cholesterol, take the beets with it, it'll bind those toxins and the cholesterol, and it'll literally bind it and keep it into your intestines. It won't let it absorb up. Got to be careful, because if you bind all the good fats too, you're not going to get those. So you just kind of, depending on what you're trying to do. But it's an amazing binder as well. And combo of these three together, it's the trio, we'll call it. Absolutely awesome. Do it all the time. But yeah, that's my personal point.
I love the, they give us a little bit of a segue going into drainage versus detoxification. And can we talk about this when we're helping a lot of our practitioners set up protocols for detoxification, right? And you want to make sure that you're prioritizing drainage first to support elimination, right? So drainage examples are the bile. It's also, your urinary system, right? The renal system. You also have aspects of drainage with your lymph, how you're sweating, right? And this is where, when you look at industry trends and like the biohacking space, a lot of those technologies are trying to optimize drainage pathways even, right? With the formulas that we have, what's an additional just top of mind product to support maybe lymph or drainage movements in the body that comes to mind?
Well, we have a plethora of products to do that, and let's talk about, since we were talking about bile, the gallbladder and the liver, right? And just make sure those pathways are open. And before you do any kind of detox protocol, either it's with nutrients here or energetic, you got to make sure your liver is taken care of, and that the bile ducts, pathways, gallbladder is tracted properly. And great ingredients for that: turmeric, and milk thistle, and artichoke. And well, we have that right here. So our liver ND, it's an amazing product. What this is we took whole food, full spectrum turmeric, and this is organic turmeric, and we took milk thistle seed here, which is organic as well, that we actually ferment with a probiotic strain. And what that does, it causes the postbiotics to be produced. It also creates, which helps with gut health, but also breaks it down to be more bioavailable. This will help with the contractions of gallbladder. Turmeric's been shown for that. Also has anti-inflammatory properties. And then the milk thistle will help clear the liver pathways, right? Your detoxification pathways. So you want to make sure everything's flowing. Otherwise, you're especially if you're absorbing like chlorella, your detoxing, it just kind of gets stuck. You're going to excrete out from different parts. Your bile is one. Your liver is kind of modifying it through detoxification. 1, 2, 3 pathways, right? Also, you're also excreting it through your urine. So we want to make sure this and that the contraction happens. So when I say people that any kind of cholesterol protocol or they have a kind of a fat soluble toxin they're trying to get rid of, taking this to track the gallbladder and make sure it's working efficiently. If you have gallbladder issues, be very careful with that. But if it's make sure that you have traction, that way you have great flow, and that way that beets I just talked about will bind effectively, and that way that you actually can constantly you're pumping it out. Basically, that's exactly what kind of think of it, a pump.
Yeah, and the beauty of a healthy detoxification protocol and being on the right nutrition is you're not supposed to feel the detox physically. Like your body is always detoxifying. That's the beauty of the physiological system, right? It's always processing things. But if it has the right nutrient matrix, it's going to be more efficient in how it processes those things, right? And you talk about turmeric and milk thistle. There's this aspect of hepatocyte protection, right? And protecting the liver cells. Ensuring that they're the ones that are breaking down, conjugating, doing all the different metabolic processes to eliminate, get the toxin to a state to be eliminated, right? Yeah. And so that's a lot of work, and I guess that's a lot of heavy lifting that hepatocyte's doing. And so you want to make sure that the liver's supportive of that.
Absolutely. And I think the liver is it's working overdrive. It's on overdrive all the time, especially in today's society for everyone, because like you said, it's constantly detoxifying. And we're doing a lot more these days, especially depending on your diet, right? If you're doing a lot of ultra processed items, everything is plastic, people, water bottles, right? which is a hard thing to get rid of. It's like people are trying to get used to going to glass and, changing from polyester to cotton. I mean, there's a shift happening, but it's starting slowly, and people are starting to realize that. And the liver's there, chugging along. It's like, I got you. I'm trying to help you, and we need to give it support wherever we can. And beyond that, the artichokes, that's another really great ingredient there that will help with the gallbladder flow as well. So, we have it's a suite of different detox products, and there's more than even here that I'm mentioning there. And if we want to get into, the energetic side, our QC oil, and you got to be careful once you get over there, though, because I've been there, and, Dr. Marshall showed me a protocol, and I did it myself without really know what I was doing. And when you have a bad detox, you feel it. And he kind of laughed at me when I did it. He's like, "Why'd you do that?" I was like, "I just did it all." He says, "You're supposed to space it out." No, I didn't do that. So.
One of my, just one of my favorite stories is when I first came to Premier. My first week, I was starting to learn the formulations, and I found out we had mud, and I found out we had all these topical detoxification products, and I was so fascinated. Like I've never been exposed to that type of approach, but it is the most holistic approach, right? So, but I was naive at the time. I was just out of college, and I was like, I'm just gonna go full hog, and I'm literally just gonna smear mud all over my body. Like that was the intention. And I remember one of our colleagues, or my colleagues at the time, warned me, and he told me the story of how he did not do an appropriate detox, because he heard my excitement and all the detoxification formulas, and he told me a story of how he decided to slap mud all over his face. And he literally had the worst drainage reaction that you could imagine. He was stuffy, and he was like, just mucus was coming out of his nose, and he could not breathe for a whole day. And then it cleared, and he felt amazing. But from that moment on, he made sure to warn everybody that you want to do it sequentially, right? You don't want to just put mud on the body, or you don't want to just put QC oil on the body. You want to be methodical. You want to make sure additional drainage pathways are open, and then you can really get the body in a harmonized state. So
more is not always better. It's not always. You got to be very careful. Like I said, I've been there, done that, and it's not fun, because you're like, it almost feels like you got a bout of flu. It's like your body just goes into shock almost, and you're like, oh, well, that doesn't feel good. I'm not going to do that again. But yes, that's why having a practitioner to guide you through this process and not do a trial by error, like, you can. I just highly suggest a practitioner will help you and actually be more efficient and probably less costly, because you're going to be experimenting, and then you're going to spend a lot more money probably.
Yeah, that's true. And it's dominoes, right? So, when you start to load the body with certain nutrients, it's kind of a cascade, right? And so other reactions, other systems will turn on, and then you may need to support those systems. And this is where, working through kind of our philosophy in QRA, and even just our practitioner network, they're going to help kind of guide you through, okay, well, because I'm putting this in your body, I'm also going to now need this, right? And that's the magic, and that's the art of supplements, which we love supporting our practitioners and, of course, consumers that are trying to take that next step, getting their health optimized. We also have a product a flagship product in regards to liver health, Hepatavin. We've already mentioned some of the key botanicals in that. Would you like to go into the formulation on that?
Yeah, we can go into and this is a key. I think it's over here. Hepatavin. So people are like, well, okay, and a lot of people ask me, why do you have liver ND? Why do you have Hepatavin? What's the difference? So there's for the liver ND, absolutely highly bioavailable. Little goes a long way. They're both critical for liver health. In fact, actually, this is what we use for our liver protocol that has been tested on multiple people and has helped them with their liver issues, and my mother included. It doesn't cure any kind of disease or anything like that, but I'm saying that it's a very effective stabilizer, I got to say, for the liver. The liver, this one has the clinical dosage amounts of milk thistle extract at 500 milligrams per dosage. This one has a natural, and people have the argument that
little, but highly bioavailable is great. And this is. And for acute need, I think this is absolutely necessary. And I always say take them together. But for maintenance, I always go to this guy. Or girl, whatever you want to call it. And this product with the artichoke, the turmeric, the milk thistle, is a more complex formula that helps not only for the detoxification pathway, it's multiple, helps with the gallbladder, the bile. It's an overall more comprehensive formula. And I use this for daily. Like, this is a weekly usage, however your protocols are. With the liver is more for acute needs. Not using that every day. I space that out a little bit more because this is intense. With the postbiotics and everything else, it's great for you. And like I said, very powerful together. But for more of a maintenance, I always use the hepatavin personally.
And I believe it's important to note, what are we talking about when we're talking about a supplement? We're providing nutrition that you're probably not getting in your diet, right?
Absolutely
So
not.
like when something we're recommending maybe on a more daily basis, how often, raise of hand in the audience, how often are you consuming milk thistle? You don't buy it at the grocery store. How often are you consuming artichoke? Maybe, rarely, maybe. And so a lot of these nutrients, they're from whole foods, but you're not getting that constant exposure. And when you're looking at a system that is so critical for health, right? Why not incorporate foods on a daily basis?
Absolutely.
Or food derivatives that support that system and
Absolutely.
functioning?
Yeah.
So.
And, I always say for certain things, as you go through a detox protocol, especially if you're using multiple products, these items such as Patavin, you can go down to half the dosage or just take one capsule. So as a maintenance aspect, everybody's a little bit different, I have to say, and especially everybody's inundated with different amounts of toxins depending on what you do, from your job, the way you eat, where you hang out. All these things are factors, and it's crazy to understand, like, even this fabric probably behind us is shedding stuff that we don't even know about. It's just where your environment is, and that can help you understand. And you have to do some testing. Definitely see a practitioner that can help understand the amount of toxicity within the body through testing. But that will help you understand the dosaging, and that's why it's so critical to be able to have a practitioner while you make that assessment, especially in the detox area.
That's true, yeah. And there's aspects of, doing functional blood tests and genetic tests even, right?
Absolutely.
Which we're partnering with some wonderful additional entities to really streamline kind of our networks. But the importance is understanding where there may be gaps, right? Especially from a genetic angle, where you may not have certain enzymatic reactions be as efficient in terms of detoxifying the body, right?
Yeah.
And so, having that awareness then allows you to augment your diet, your lifestyle, your supplement protocols to better support natural detoxification in every single moment of every single day. But you mentioned it's important. There's this aspect, I find it so interesting. For, I would say, decades, we were creating new materials. We were chemically synthesizing additives and fabrics and food, substrates that you're putting into, packaged meals. And now we're waking up, maybe that wasn't such a good thing. And this aspect of the detoxification landscape changing, it's not only going to chemicals, it's also going to technology and frequencies and exposures in that maybe more esoteric, but very real, right? It's not as tangible because you can't see it, but there is a environment always around us that could be potentially causing harm. And so, we look at the body holistically here at Premier, and we do have aspects of detoxification from an electronic EMF perspective. Would you be willing to kind of engage on?
Yeah, no, I think we are, once again, we are constantly inundated with different toxins, including frequency. In fact, at the end of the day, everything is frequency. This is something Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, they all knew that the very core of what we are, where there's frequency. Quantum mechanics, kind of delving into that area. Having the right type of frequency, right? If you are made of frequency, this is made of frequency, certain frequencies are going to harmonize with you. And actually, it could be creative and destructive, right? You talk about the bridge having the right, resonant frequency that can literally collapse it, right? And you do that. So you have frequencies can be good and bad. However, you can modify them. And I think the type of frequency, and that's what we have been researching, and when I say we, Dr. Forbes and Dr. Marshall, and Dr. Forbes continues this research, looking at how certain geometric designs that we have actually patented ourselves can modify certain frequencies, and you can use certain modalities like muscle testing, like QRA, quantum reflex analysis, which we teach, to measure this. And you can literally take something that was negative, like an EMF, which has been shown to modify your microbiome. It does, do not put it next to the bed near you. I've measured this. There's a constant radiation coming from your phone. You want to get it away. They do suggest turn off your Wi-Fi at night. Depends how much you want to take that. More the better on that one, for sure. The least amount of, when I say more, meaning more items you turn off, I think is the better. But you can also modify it, where if you're using these geometric designs for what we found with our modality and our analysis, that we can make it beneficial according to our testing. And so take something that normally is bad for the body that we, from our testing, and turn it into something that's positive, that it modifies it. Because at the end of the day, Dr. Forbes, Dr. Marshall's, is all frequency is not necessarily bad. Like I said earlier, it just needs to be modified to be in line with what you need as a person or a plant or whatever it is. So, and that's what the research has been behind and what they have been working on for 30 plus years. And we have that. Our Q-Disc is one of them that we have for for the phones. You see all these devices out there that are looking to block it. Why block it? Why not modify it? That way, actually, you can use it to your advantage and to support your body rather than having to worry about that. There's no way you're going to get away from EMFs. They're everywhere, period. We're not, unless you live off the grid, and even there you're going to be exposed to something probably. We use these to live in that environment to benefit you. Hack it. Energy hack it, if you will. That's what we'll call it.
It's true. I mean, the analogy and the terminology that we like to use is geospatial harmonization, right? It's more of the technical term, with the waveform actually working with the waveform of your own body, right? And it's either coherence or discoherence with any frequency that your physical form is encountering, or even your quantum form is encountering. And so what we want to encourage, not only through the supplements we use, because we're not incorporating any frequencies from physical substrates that are discoherent, aka excipients, right? We're using natural substances that carry a carry a light wave that can then propagate throughout the body, right? That helps to support expression of certain genetic facets, transcription factors, just the whole array of what life is. But we want to ensure that everything that is coming into the body, right, is working with the body, right? And this is where, that remediation approach that we're known for here at Premier, and we, talk about in QRA, it's really about making sure everything's working together for your optimal self. And it's something to note when you're thinking about detoxification. It's not only the foods and the supplements and now the EMFs, but it's also the emotional aspect of the body. And, there's aspects of detoxification where maybe asking yourself what emotional concepts aren't working for you. It's the same concept of frequency of EMFs, but it's that emotional thought that is a wave pattern that is merging and propagating throughout your body that is then controlling expression of how your body's moving through each moment. And I think it's important to talk about, because a lot of times it's overlooked, and sometimes that is the biggest key to health, because it is your belief that's limiting your success in this moment.
Absolutely. Mindset, people look at positive mindsets and as a kind of a inspirational, they're like, oh, that's to get me excited, and that's something that it's in the woo-woo a little bit area for people, but science is coming, and there's actually a lot of research now and there has been actually since the 70s and even earlier, looking at, what the mind can do. And quantum mechanics, entanglement, and showing that our realities are what we perceive it. And there's been experiments in the quantum realm where 4 different experiments of quantum experiments, 4 different operators doing the exact same one doing kind of calculations, the other one's doing the physical, and they get a different result based on their perception. What that means is, and to summarize that, and I try to make that as simple and probably oversimplistic, but your world is what you make it, and your mindset changes everything. And, gets into the realms of manifestation and manifestation, what is it? What is causing that? And people are like, I need that empirical value for me to really understand that. And I was like that for a little while, but when you experience it, which I've personally experienced this, it is really how you can change yourself. Like you can go from a slump, and literally by just changing your mindset, it takes seconds, and you have to realize it's passing. It's the environment, actually, more than anything. And you are your own entity, and you can literally, with enough meditation, and I gotta say meditation is amazing, and it's like a muscle. You gotta practice it. But we can get to the point where you can step and kind of observe yourself and realize that it's fleeting, and to move on and observe another one. You are your own entity, and all these things are just coming by you, if you will, and it doesn't have to control you. And so, anyways, so the energetic aspect of this, in terms of the mindset, absolutely. When we do a technique called ERT, that if you came and learned Chlorella, would be part of kind of that, what we teach. Very powerful, using affirmations. We actually sell affirmation cards. So I don't know if a lot of the audience knows this. Very, very powerful. You are what you speak. Your words have more power than you possibly can imagine, and your thoughts have more power. When you combine them and you truly believe and the passion of moving forward or doing whatever you're trying to do, it will happen one way or another. It's not going to just poof and come out of air, like it's not magic. This is science, and you start observing things, you figure it out. Your brain is powerful. Your brain works on quantum levels. They're really starting to understand, and it amazes me. And I'm sure as AI evolves, they're going to teach us more things about ourselves. And there's a power. You are a powerful being.
So
period.
true. It's the aspect of how are you always cleaning off your mirror? Because we get muck, we get emotions, we get frustrations, and it sticks onto the mirror, which is ourself. And there's this aspect of detoxifying or cleaning that mirror, right? And allowing a true expression of self to come through. And I think one of the greatest supplements ever is awareness.
Absolutely.
And, but you have to be nourished to have and to be able to really engage in a deep level of awareness. And I believe there's some aspects, when you talk about detoxifying, and for somebody to be on that journey towards self, they really need to have the ability for the body to engage that muscle. And if your brain is filled with microplastics, which I heard the other day that the analogy is there's maybe an actual spoon amount of like a plastic spoon amount of microplastics in your brain because of all the exposure we have. Well, probably logically you can assume you're not going to be able to flex that muscle of consciousness and awareness, right? Which is the totality of your existence, but you're not going to be able to really dig in deep because there's potential substrates, chemical reactions that are pulling you away, right? Causing you to have neuroinflammation, causing you to have anxiety, have hyperactivity in certain areas, right? And so, if you're maybe feeling untethered and you're seeing a mental manifestation that's causing you maybe frustration or dissatisfaction in life, well, maybe there's an aspect of detoxification and nutrition that you can incorporate into your body to support that harmony. So,
and getting in the right mindset, and if you feel that there's a physical manifestation that you feel it's going to be harmful, please see a practitioner, your doctor. But there's a lot of opportunities with items through this detoxification the energetics, the positive outlooks that can help you and honestly help maintain you throughout day-to-day items. And when life throws a curveball at you, because it happens, there was big curveballs. 2020 was a big curveball, and it constantly. The world. If you watch the news, regular media, which I have stopped doing that because it's just, and I read more than anything now because to get rid of the inherent bias, that's part of it. The negativity can literally change you. Personally experienced this a long time ago with actually my first boss, and that boss was very negative. Changed me as a person. My wife, who I was dating at the time, mentioned, after this boss left, that, and this is not Dr. Marshall, I just wanted to clear that, at all, whatsoever. He was a mentor. This boss, and I say boss because it wasn't, to me, it wasn't later, it was a boss. This person, the negativity was kind of just coming out of there, asked for and wanted, and it literally imprints on you almost. Words like I really mean it when words have power. It can change nations. It can start wars. Words have more power than you possibly imagine. It can change you. There's even science about the water, and we can get into that. But words can do a lot, and that negativity translates into physical, biochemical manifestations in the brain, the body, and when negativity, cortisol goes up, and it's a cascade of it. It's like a domino.
That is a domino.
And but you can be positive, just cup half full, always. No matter what you're in, always try to find the positive. Why? What could happen that's good, and you'd be surprised how that mindset change makes you feel a lot better.
Yeah, it's not toxic positivity, right? It's almost this concept of allowing things to move through you, right?
I think we all have to go have resilience. People are trying to build resilience through cold plunging and all that physically, right? To be able to have these inundations and for your body to resist. You also got to do that from a mental standpoint too. You got to experience these things to know and go through it and learn how to deal with it. Because they're not going to just disappear. Things are just not going to fix themselves. There's always going to be wars. There's always going to be this. This is what it is. Maybe one day, who knows? But I doubt it. And so you got to learn how to deal with that. And there's techniques and items, nutrition, all that helps. And when you feel it physically manifesting, and you can feel it physically manifesting, you're really looking for that solution so you don't feel it anymore, because you remember what it felt not to have that. So I think that you have to experience it, learn how to deal with it. And everybody's a little different. Yeah. I think there's no silver bullet out there for anything. Everybody's different. Everybody's microbiome's different. Your fingerprint. You are an individual, powerful human being, and your solutions and my solutions are going to be different. You got to try. You got to try different things. This is why I keep saying practitioners, they can help you through this journey, because it is a journey. And just because your friend, Joe or Will, what they did, they can help you, but really understanding that without the testing and everything, it's going to be a longer journey without a practitioner.
Yeah, it's health and healing is a lived experience. Absolutely. Right? And you have to, you can't just, you can try different fads, right? And detox fads, we've mentioned some of that. But truthfully, if you're looking to take that next step, you have to deeply dig deep. Like, you have to dig deep, and you have to face that, and you have to experience that. And it's kind of, there is no way out but through. That's just the mantra that comes to mind. But as we kind of wrap up today, any thoughts on detoxification? I mean, we spanned the globe of what detoxification is, and obviously there's protocols and there's steps. We were able to talk about a lot of products. I believe there's one actually that maybe we didn't. I think it's alicidin. Is that alicidin on there?
We have Medi-Clay, Chlorella, liver. We have fermented turmeric, ginger, and glutathione.
Glutathione, yep.
Our glutathione, absolutely amazing. I have a real quick talk about this one. This is actually a clinically studied glutathione form. And I'm going to destroy the trademark name of Setria. S-E-T-R-I-A. That form, it's actually been, it's fermented, so it's not technically synthetic. It's fermented, been clinically shown, I believe, I want to say it was over a 12-week period, that it can actually increase the levels. So a lot of people are concerned about other synthetic glutathiones not being bioavailable, basically breaks down in your stomach. Well, this one's been shown to absorb and increase your actual natural glutathione levels and add to it. But also has a supportive matrix. As you know, all our formulas are not usually single ingredients, unless they're whole food, full spectrum, like a fermented turmeric ginger. They usually has a synergistic support matrix. And people always ask, like, why do you do that? And I think that's very important to understand that, once again, nature knows best. And there's a reason why saffron's been shown to help with, as a whole food botanical, has been shown to help with, mood support, and teenagers even, better than some of the pharmaceuticals out there. Studies have shown that, and we can maybe put that in the comments so people can see these studies. That's the one we have on Afron that's in our Trinquinol. But I think it's very important to have these other natural forms, because there's thousands of phytochemicals in there, right, in the right balance for your body, and it just helps these individual ingredients to get into there and your body to process it and utilize it effectively. So that's kind of why you see all our formulas as a, you have a meal, you just don't want one item, you want the whole meal, right? You want, as Dr. Marsh used to say, like the meat and the potatoes. You want the whole thing. But this is an amazing formula, absolutely powerful to boost your own glutathione levels. The fermented turmeric ginger, absolutely, ginger has been used for digestive aids, has been for nausea, has been for actually liver health as well. Yep. We have a regular ginger as well that's part of the liver protocol, but this fermented one mixed with the turmeric, not only does it make it more bioavailable, it's fermented, has the postbiotics, the organic acids, but has also, it gets rid of a little bit of the off taste to it, so it makes it more palatable, and you absorb better. So it's great for yourself, also your pets, and this is great, and doesn't have that. Ginger can be very spicy, we'll call it, and turmeric has a very distinct taste to it. And then I think that was the last one, right?
That covers them all.
Those are all of them. But I mean, like I said, stuff out here. We talked about beets. We talked about the Q-disc. Find either practitioner. If you're a practitioner yourself, call in, and we have a whole staff internally that can help you. Go through all the different products here, because we have a garlic that's not listed here, alicidin. There's a lot of different opportunities. 100 plus SKUs that we have, that I think is go down. I think this is a good start, but there's so much more that we can offer.
Yeah, I mean, it's fitting that we're concluding this episode on glutathione, though we talked detoxification on all sorts of different products, when a lot of people think about glutathione and liver support for detoxification. But truthfully, the detoxification equation is not one silver bullet. It's the nutrient matrix that is supporting the pivotal processes that your body and your unique body needs to support optimal detoxification. And this kind of, maybe wrapping up today's discussion on the concept of resonant nutrition, it is to ensure, with our premier quality standard, that everything in that product has the purest signature to support ideal health, right? And, it's this aspect that everything in the bottle is there to support a health outcome. And
absolutely,
you pointed to that with glutathione and, the synergists. And it's just beautiful because there is a matrix in every single one of our formulas, typically, that is supporting that product's mechanism of action in the body and the other cascades of reactions that are necessary for optimal health.
Yeah, so I think it's the simple analogy that I think most people will get. If you don't know, I say synergist, and people may not understand what that is. That look at processed food, look at chips or candy. It's been highly ultra processed. It went from cacao pods to this chocolate piece that it's delicious. It does help with dopamine, but it also has a lot of other negative effects, the sugar and everything else in there, right? It's lost the items in the cacao pod, which is really, really good for you. And even the intermediates between there, they show, the cacao flavanols before you get into that last step of milk, that you remove all that it still has help. But once you get into that ultra processed, where it's just synthetic, it's a single ingredient, nothing, doesn't have any of the resonant components to it, the bioenergetic and the chemical, right? We do both here. If you don't have the full spectrum, you only get one part of that benefit. Mm-hmm. And you may be helping one thing and then hurting another area. Right. So what we do is make sure it actually is resonant across not only the formulations, we're talking about the bottles, everything from the vendors, and it's everything, even this building is resonant designed through VOS 2, which is a whole other conversation that you can come and learn here. But resonance is something that is the foundation of who we are. Cellular resonant formulations here.
It's the aspect that truly defines premier quality, but there's so many tangents that we can go down to talk about each one of those. So, Nick Labinsky, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your words, your affirmations. To everybody listening in, I hope you found some grounding, a sense of grounding, and maybe a direction in your detoxification journey. We have a lot of solutions, and so just know you're not alone. We have a practitioner community, and if you're a health professional yourself, we would love to support you in your journey to better support your clients to ideal health with all of our formulations. We're in it together. So reach out to us today. We'd love to answer any questions you have, and thank you for being on this journey with us.
Between the stress at the office and juggling my kids' soccer schedule, my energy was running on empty. Then I found Premier Research Labs, and they've been trusted by health practitioners for more than 35 years. Now I have the energy I had 10 years ago. I'm finally sleeping through the night, and with their digestive support, I've even shed a few pounds. Plus, Premier Research Labs products are made in the U.S. with top-quality natural ingredients and cutting-edge science. I found them on Amazon, but you can learn more about them if you visit prlabs.com today and start your journey to feeling your best.